let's give a big startup grind welcome for Navin. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Thank you. Man, that's a tough act to follow. Thank you.
Well, that's for you. So you're following yourself.
Okay. Every day is a new day. You learn. I haven't seen this before, man.
We're so grateful to be here. What an amazing space. I think the first time I came here was back in like the early 2000s when I had just first become an entrepreneur, and you would host these kind of legendary parties here in this space. Am I right? Like it was kind of...
Actually, it was our neighbor. Like, if you throw too many parties, right? Like sometimes it doesn't work in the right way because you need to just understand what business you are, right? We're in the venture capital business, and no, they used to throw amazing parties, but they ended up retiring. But we have done some parties outside with TechCrunch before COVID.
Yeah.
But I think this is the right size of audience to be doing this with, and I really want to thank you for doing this with us, and want to thank everybody for taking the time to be with us here today. It's a delight.
Thank you so much. Let's jump right into it. I wonder if you could start. First of all, do you see yourself as an investor and entrepreneur? Because you started 3 companies, and you kind of started out as almost like a. Did you plan to be an entrepreneur? Was you kind of an accidental entrepreneur? How did it start?
I think in life, if you plan too much, you get to nowhere. So I was an accidental entrepreneur, right? Like a lot of times it's about being at the right place at the right time. And I started my entrepreneurial journey very early when I was 25 years old. I was doing my PhD at Stanford and was working in the area of putting media on the internet, what was called streaming media. And I came to the US in '92, and the internet just hit. People around me started Yahoo, Mark, he started Netscape, and the VCs from Sand Hill and entrepreneurs came and said, man, like this is great technology. You just put Stanford classes on the internet. Why don't you start a company? You go like, really? I'm on an F1 visa. How many people understand visas here? Oh, great. Now we can talk. Now we can talk. So essentially, being an entrepreneur coming from humble beginnings in India is not easy, right? So you don't plan for things. You just do good stuff that you enjoy. And one thing leads to the other, and you become an entrepreneur. But you have to always take risks along the way. It was a huge risk to, in the early 90s, to drop off from a PhD program, be on an F1 visa, be at the mercy of the government to get an H1. What if the company fails? You had to convince your parents and friends who were also...
I was going to ask you, do you remember that conversation with your parents, who I assume were back in India? I'm sure
Absolutely.
They were thrilled about you dropping out of Stanford.
They weren't, man. They weren't, right? Like, and actually many of my classmates might be in the room. They thought I was crazy. And I went, and that's what entrepreneurs need to do, right? You can't follow popular wisdom, right? You have to go against the grain. And the main reason is, if people tell you, great idea, it's never going to work. That means it was so obvious. So my belief is everybody has to say to create the 10, 20, $30 billion companies, this is never going to work. Then I wake up, say, great. Now let's figure out if it wakes up, what will happen, right? So it took 6 months of convincing parents, friends. And you go like, then somebody gave me good advice. An entrepreneur of ours who was my advisor, Professor Anup Gupta, we did VXtreme together. He said, hey, I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. I can be your safety net. Just take a 1-year leave of absence. I said, great. That means I get to start a company. None of the money is ours. I don't have to manage anybody, because in those days, when you were 25 years old, the first thing VCs told you, right, hey, you have no experience. In my case, you can't even speak good English. You don't know how to manage anybody, and you have too much hair. And no, I used to, right? And no gray hair. So you know what? Like, you just invent algorithms, you just invent technologies. We'll build the team around you. And you go like, wow, what a dream job. I get to keep equity. I never imagined to be a CEO. I don't have to manage anybody. And
And if it doesn't
only
work, you
happens,
can go back.
I can go back.
Yeah.
Then I realized, man, this only happens in Silicon Valley. What a great deal. Right? So you have a safety net. If it fails, you can go back and pursue your PhD and become a professor, or go to Bell Labs in those days was hot, or go to one of the labs, or you get to do a company. And that's what drives me, right? Which is, if other people helped you, right? I came to this country on a fellowship, unnamed fellowship at Stanford. They paid for me, right? You have no idea that you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to start a company. Other people come tell you you should start a company.
Yeah.
You go like, wow. So we want to give back. That's what we do with the rest of the people today, right? Like, if good has happened to you, like, you need to give some of it back, and then it multiplies, right? So I think it's accidental. You have to just do great things. You have to enjoy what you do. And one door will open another door, and who knows? One day you'll be an entrepreneur, next day you'll be a CEO, next day you'll be in the dark side of the business in a white room, right? Like, which is called venture capital when you were an entrepreneur, right? Like, my company got acquired by Microsoft. People would say, you're crazy, including my roommate here. He and I used to argue about Microsoft and Apple. He remembers which one is going to win. Like, evil empire, you'll sell your company or soul to them. You'll go work for Bill Gates. I said, like, okay, it's okay. And then when you enter the venture capital business, that's why I'm in black today. You know what it means, right? The dark side, the dark side. Accidental, that was also accidental.
How do you pick the right idea to work on? Because even then, like, in looking back, you know, the dots seem to connect so easily, but, you know, you probably had 20 ideas you could have worked on, and this is the one you went with. Like, and when you see entrepreneurs, hundreds, thousands of entrepreneurs have come through the doors here, how do you advise them on which idea to actually put it on the line for?
Yeah. So I think as an investor, it's much easier. The reason is it's not your baby, it's not your idea, so you can critique it, right? The harder part is when you're on the other side, you're so convinced about why this is going to be big. That's the hard part, right? So my feeling always is, whether I was an entrepreneur or whether you're working and giving advice to other entrepreneurs, is first tell me what you're not going to do. You have a lot of ideas, and in life, you know, it's about making choices, but it's not about making a good choice. It's about making a great choice. To make a great choice, you have to first tell me what you're not going to do. Because if you ask them what you're going to do, they'll tell you, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can do that. No. You have 10 ideas. Tell me the 9 you're not going to do. And then you get to 1. Even if it's 2, we can try, because life is all about focus, right? Whether it's an individual, whether it's a startup, whether it's a VC, you don't die of starvation in life, right? Like, basically. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. You die of indigestion. So if you're a startup, if you're a founder, become the world's best at something. Go deep. Be known for something, right? You can't be in the Guinness Book of World Records for every award possible, man. That's not the way to do it. Pick something small. Become the king or queen of that hill. Go in, if you're starting a company, don't go after breadth, and go 6 inches deep. Build trenches. Pick an area and say, I'm going to find oil there. I'm going to find gold. Keep going. You know why? 99.99999% of the world is going to stop. You just get tired. So that's what entrepreneurism is about. And you know what? If you don't find gold there, you have learned so much. The next time you drill, it'll be much easier. So that's what my advice always to people is, to pick something, first by saying no to a lot of good ideas. And have co-founders, have advisors, have people, whether it's VCs, whether it's board members, who have seen this movie before. Ideate with them. Ideate with them, because at the end of the day, you make the final decision. Keep an open mind. Listen to everybody.
I've heard you talk about, like, finding ideas around the edge. Could you talk a little bit about what does that mean, and how do I, as, again, somebody that hasn't started a company or just starting out, like, how do I find things that other people haven't don't obviously see.
Yeah, so I think based on my experience, both as an investor and an entrepreneur in the past, I love when people come out of the domain. They don't come from that domain. They come from outside the domain. And the main reason is they can look at the problem fresh. They can have a beginner's mind, and they don't have any handcuffs on why it's not going to work. And that's why if you have to become a great athlete in the world, right? You suddenly don't wake up at the age of 40 and say, I'm going to become the best tennis player. You start at age 5 or 6. That's what age doesn't matter as an entrepreneur, but go in fresh. And if you were using first principles, how would you solve that problem? And imagine what the world would look like if one or two things go right. So to me, that's the most important thing, which is having that peripheral vision, having that thinking, just first principles, and just wonders happen, right? Because, for example, scarcity is always the motherhood of all invention. So if you're put in a new thing, humans are smart, they survive, right? They figure out ways. So that's what I mean, right? Innovation at the edge. People usually coming from the same space, 99.9% of the time, VCs are guilty, it will never work. I actually like it when people say it'll never work. That means it's great. It's like some of the politicians, I don't want to take their name. Negative news is great PR for them. Controversy is great PR for them, right? Similarly, if the whole world says it's a bad idea, find people who are saying and giving you the signals that it's a right idea. But having a fresh mind, having an open mind is critical in finding these markets.
At the one of the so you after you found these companies, you become an entrepreneur in residence here, right? And you're planning to start another company.
Yep.
And then you realize you're actually really good at helping other entrepreneurs, or what led you to then become an investor and switch over?
Yeah, so I think having lived in actually this internet era reminds me of the dot-com era. There was a lot of frenzy, and I'm sure you and I will talk about it. Like I was doing like back-to-back companies from like 96. By the year 2002, I had done like two companies which got acquired in one IPO, and it was happening everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Basically, you just had to say pets.com and you would be a public company. For people around there at that time, remember, right? Like basically, and you take things and you sell it for free. That's what Amazon used to do. Of course, everybody will come and buy it because you use public money. I think this time it's a little bit better. So what happened is I come in to start my fourth company into the venture capital industry as an entrepreneur in residence. And that company was going to essentially leverage India to figure out how do you build global companies. And it's reminding me of the same thing when we'll talk about AI, how people leveraging talent offshore. And this was early 2000s when the India engineering market, IT services market hadn't taken off, manufacturing was still in here. How do you build global companies which could be boundaryless, if you will, right? And so I came in with the thesis, let's start a fourth company, and it will use labor in India, and will use technology here, but go after small businesses who can't adopt technology and provide them as a business service. A good example at that time was payroll processing, right? Everybody used to outsource it. So can you do that to other business processes? And one thing led to the other. They said like, when you look at the landscape, India is a massive investment opportunity. They said, hey, why don't you become a venture partner? That was a seed deal on me, Let's see how good you are.
Sure.
And it was in return good. Okay, I don't have to commit to you either, because when you're a partner, you're committed.
Right.
And one thing leads to the other, like it did from PhD to becoming an entrepreneur. You say, okay, this is fun.
It's like a project.
Like, let's do it. It's fun.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. And then there's no coming back. 20 years later, you're doing the same thing.
They got you.
20 years later, you're doing the same thing.
One thing that's really unique about what you do here is that you actually help form companies. You'll invest companies all the way up the stack, but you'll put teams together, and some of those teams have gone on to, like Poshmark, which I think you introduced the founders together, has gone on to become a public company. How do you, what do you do? What is your, what are your ingredients there for early stage companies, company formation?
I think the first thing I'll say is a plug. Stay tuned for a big announcement from Mayfield next week in and along that EIR
I mean,
stuff.
we're all here. We could just do it now.
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, I'm not Elon Musk, right? Like, so I can't do that. I still follow direction, and I'm controlled by many of my team members, right? Like, it's a difference. We play a team sport, not a solo sport. So I can't, right? Like, I follow because it's not good, right? Some of them are standing. They'll take out, eggshells and hit me. So I can't do that, right? So big announcement is going to come. So our feeling is Mayfield funds people. Our founder, when he started Mayfield, he wasn't even from the tech industry. He started the firm in 1969, but he started in the venture capital business in early 40s in 1961, along with Arthur Rock, with the name of the firm being Rock Davis. Tommy Davis was the founder of Mayfield. And he said, let's invest in people, because people build companies, people build products. So Mayfield to this date is a people first, market second firm. We invest in people first, market second. So what is the best way to invest? Is when the entrepreneur hasn't even figured out what to do. They have one of those 10 ideas. Perfect time. Why? You have to make them a great athlete. They have learned no wrong habits. They haven't raised a lot of money. Just partner with them. Use your collective intelligence as a team that you have gathered over 55 years as an institution, and just give them a safety net. They can come in here, they have space, they have great food, they have wine. Like, we give them stipend as an EIR and say, like, hey, let's create greatness. But we don't fund our own ideas, right? With the EIR program, it's entrepreneur in residence. We fund their ideas, but help them figure out idea market fit, if you will, right? And use the firm's resources. And I would love to have gotten that kind of a role, but in a way, I did. So it's giving back, because I had the safety net, what we talked about.
Yeah.
I could always go back, but then I realized there's no such thing. So I think the EIR stuff, our belief is people build companies. Let's bet on the jockey and not the racetrack, because great people, if their initial idea doesn't pan out, Lyft is a good example. It started as Zimride, very successful company. They'll quickly pivot to find the right market, and that's the same as like finding gold. If you don't find it here, you'll find it somewhere. You'll find it somewhere. So that's what we try to do, is work with entrepreneurs, ideate on companies, and there are many examples. It's not only the one you mentioned. Poshmark is a great one, but probably I personally have been involved with over 10 EIRs. Every year, I personally am involved with, as the lead, in probably like 1 to 2 such EIR projects where people come up with an idea, it's not fully baked. Work with them and stay tuned.
Cool. Yeah, I think this is a really big idea, to bet on people over markets, because we're just taught over and over again as entrepreneurs, like, you've got to go after a big market, you got to go after a big market. And it seems like Mayfield has this kind of unique approach in that way, that really it's really about people more so than that idea, and have a really great track record of actually seeing that thesis through to really incredible outcomes. I
think, like, here is the thing, right, man? If the market is obvious to people and it's such a big market, why aren't people doing it, right? So it has to be something different. Most people have to say there's no market, or it's a useless market.
Yeah.
That's why you get an opportunity as a startup, right? Like, you can't go after a market and say, I'll topple Walmart. Really? Okay, because retail is big, but what did Amazon do? They said, like, let's open online commerce. People said, really? People will buy things by looking just on the internet? and not go to a store, but they missed one thing. There was catalog. People used to already buy. In airplanes, they used to sit, look at the stuff. There was 1-800, see an ad, and do it. He just made it easy. But most people said, who will buy without looking? They missed that there are already existing markets, and this person can scale it.
Yeah.
Right? So to me, when markets are small, there's no market for ride sharing. Great. There's no market that people won't buy clothes from other people's markets, other people's closets. That's what's Poshmark. Awesome. It's great news. Those are called blue ocean opportunities where markets don't exist. The pain exists, and entrepreneurs essentially go and figure out what their wedge is, and markets grow. Markets grow. So you create markets, right? There was no market for Airbnb. There was no market for DoorDash. In 99, 2000, there was red van, blue van, green van. I don't know how many people were around. They all died. But what changed this time around? It was mobile. And they didn't hire trucks, right? The 1099 economy had already happened. They used mobile, where you had location. You had always on connectivity. Retailers wanted to sell their stuff, and there was labor available. They just connected the dots. And most people said it'll never happen, because it didn't. So what happened? The founder came, hadn't even worked anywhere, and created it.
What about sort of picking the right investors? I've heard you talk about that you need to be aligned, but there's a certain class of people, like I would say, like amazing, high-achieving people, and maybe they can pick any investor they want, but most people can't. So when you're trying to sort of desperately get somebody to believe in your idea, and you're just to get things off the ground, at the same time, like, of course, you want to get the best people, the right people, but how do you balance those two things, and what does the right investor look like?
So I think since I mentioned building companies is all about people, I think you have to connect with the investor. The brand doesn't matter. You have to find people who you can relate to, who you think will watch your back, will be there to support you, and they're not always going to measure you. So my belief is, if you're an entrepreneur, find the right characteristics of an investor. The firm, the individual, doesn't matter, who will essentially help you and turbocharge you to achieve what you're capable of doing, right? And there is a saying, right? Like, and I know I'm going on the internet with this, all money is green, I agree. But in this case, if it's the entrepreneur's choice, right? Like, basically, find the right school, right? Like, you can open any magazine and say, like, I can get married to anybody, right? Like, basically, find the right partner for you. That's what your founding investor thing is, right? So find who's right for you. Don't get colored by your friend went with that investor, I went with this investor. What's the right thing for you?
Yeah.
Find founder investor fit. FIF, a new term for the internet. Founder investor fit. Why only PMF?
That's a new blog post coming out tomorrow.
From you or me?
No, you. You said it.
I don't know where the marketing
The content
team is.
team's
Like
already working on it.
I know, like another eggshell is coming.
I think that's a really, as Steve Blank would say, it's a really big idea. And that is that brand doesn't matter. And as you said that, I've never thought about it in that way. But in my own investment journey and for my own company, that is exactly the way. It really is about people. And in some ways, like, you kind of need to park your ego a little bit, maybe at times, and maybe you're not getting the big firm that you hoped and dreamed of. But if you're getting the right person, that announcement's going to just come and go in about 3 days, and then you're going to be married to this person for eternity. And if you pick the wrong person, you're going to be really sorry. And whether or not the brand thing, it has very little value outside of a couple of small things, and that's sort of that long-term, difficult, decade-long relationship. You desperately need the right person.
Yeah, I would actually say the most successful entrepreneurs don't come from central casting. They're first time entrepreneurs. You pick, let's look at the biggest companies today, right? By market cap,
NVIDIA.
right? First time founder. Very good friend. Tried multiple times for 25 years. Kept going, kept going. No, let's start with the first Apple. The founder was fired, was not good enough. Didn't have enough gray hair, same story, not white hair, a
I don't like all
professional
this
CEO.
hair talk.
I know, I'm getting there too. Right? Too many hair. So essentially, you look at Apple, same story. Second company, NVIDIA, same story. First time founder, Bill Gates, drop out. The fourth company, Google, with me at Stanford. Fifth company, Amazon, is building a retail company, Wall Street analyst. Sixth company, Facebook. So these people didn't come from central casting. Why are these entrepreneurs running after branded firms and people like me? Find the right entrepreneur. If you, that's what we do. You find the right investor for yourself. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And the VCs, when you create greatness, will show up anyways. We have all kinds of products. We have seed products, mango seeds, watermelons, early stage, right? Like late stage, crossover, spring, selects, right? Like, so they'll come. You just think about it, right? Like you're going from place A to place B. There's always a next round. There's always another partner along the way. To get to the next milestone, whom do you need?
Yeah.
Right? Like, just don't waste time. Right? If you're not getting good response, right? Like, you're just spinning cycles. It's like with customers, right? If you have fish, you don't cook. It's the same with fundraising. It needs to happen. It smells.
Yeah.
So,
And if not, go back.
Go back.
Go back to the customers.
yeah,
Go
back
figure
to
out
the
what's
investor,
wrong.
what's wrong, and just
Yeah.
improve. But find the right person for you, right? Like basically, this is a long-term relationship. It's a marriage. It's friendship. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just find the right person. And that's an example, right? Like all those people, and in many cases, Microsoft didn't even have a VC till Google got no VC. It was only angels till they became the largest search engine. Right? Like, and you look at the biggest companies, right? Like when investors land up there, they already were leaders in their own segment.
Right.
They weren't at the ideation stage.
Right.
It's just tough to know. That's why this business, right, like the venture and entrepreneurship is a great equalizer. Great equalizer because you can start with nothing and have everything. It's the only business where this happens.
It is amazing. Yeah, you can be at the very, very bottom at the first step, and you can get all the way to the top and skip all.
All the stuff, the fastest way.
Yeah, the fastest way.
Fastest way.
The hardest too.
But, you know, if no pain, no gain. Like how? Right? Like
Did
basically.
you just come up with that too?
I don't know, man. I'm just having fun. I'm just having fun.
Okay.
No pain, no gain.
It's a great blog post. Okay, so AI.
Man, are you putting pressure on my team?
They're like
They're already like
the
sweating.
Slack's blowing up. Okay, so how big is AI? How big can it be? How big do you see it being?
Yeah, so I think first of all, right, like I would say, I personally don't like the word AI, right? Like artificial intelligence, like it's a 70-year-old term, right? So the way I look at it is we are very excited about endorsing at Mayfield technology, which is coming in the form of intelligence and can really collaborate with humans to change the way we work, live, and play. So earlier this week, I coined the term CI, collaborative intelligence, that AI will no longer be assisted intelligence, which is co-pilots. Agents is automated and augmented intelligence. Really where the world is going, like you and I are collaborating, tomorrow there won't be Navin. There'll be a twin of Navin. You and Navin twin will collaborate, and that day is not far because, you know, only the new things you and I are coming up with, it may not be able to. But all the past stuff, like you read the videos and everything, they would have done it too.
Yeah.
So to me, AI is a 100x force, right? And the main reason is the following. First, for the first time in life, machines can understand human language. Till now, we had to learn this kind of programming, that kind of programming, and we were slaves of machines, right? And then graphical user interfaces came. People are spending all this money, VC money going down, just to write a document. And that still continues. Microsoft is on version 101.1, new companies will come, right? Like it just doesn't stop. Just for us to tell the machine, hey, do this, right? Now machines can understand natural language. So you can just tell them, go do this. Or give me a picture of this. It just goes, does it. It's amazing. And then there is another 10x disruption with, thanks to technologies from companies like NVIDIA, machines have gotten so fast and so smart that not only can they do research, they can reason and take action. That's amazing. So you take 10x times 10x, it's a 100x force. And the information technology industry has grown from the mainframe industry where you put a job to there, go to sleep, wake up in the morning, hopefully it'll be completed. Then you come. Did you work? Any people have worked on mainframes? Like, right, you know what I'm talking about, right? In undergrad or other places you go and it was just fun. And you make one error, another 36 hours are gone, right? So mainframe went to mini computers went to PC, PC went to web, web went to cloud, cloud went to mobile. And look at the amount of wealth that got created. This time, not only is it a back-end disruption, which cloud is, but like mobile was a front-end interface, it's both happening at the same time. So the stakes are much, much higher, right? A good example is, look at the public market cap of companies. Just 5 or 6 companies have grown since the Gen AI announcement, 7-8 trillion in market cap. That's third largest GDP in the world.
Wow.
In 2 years, third largest GDP, another Twitter headline. Why only blog post? No, literally, right? And then I think this is where the market is going, right? Information technology is like...
You think that growth is, is it warranted?
In the stocks?
Yeah.
Yeah, the growth and how the world is consuming these products, right now it's only from the big companies, is astronomical. If you look on how these companies are trading on like I don't care about revenue, that's like unrealized returns in venture capital, right? Like I care about, do these companies make money? And the operating margin of these companies like NVIDIA is 45-50%. They're printing money at the scale they're at. They're growing 250%, 300%. People are, this is the new oil, right? Like people, sovereign countries, big countries, everybody is saying, man, just take the oil, it'll finish. Really? So people who are supplying all the arms and all the plumbing equipment are growing. And it's essentially the chip providers and the cloud providers. I think this is real, but valuations are out of whack, not in public. Public markets are saner in this side of the world, but you're going through the hype curve. But this is a real thing. And essentially what is going to happen is, wait for next week. We'll make it clearer on where the opportunity is and how.
We won't tell anyone.
And that'll be the thing. Another eggshell at Navin.
Is it not? It feels like OpenAI every 3 or 4 months just comes out and just wipes out this whole another swath of companies and ideas. And is AI not a winner take all? Is it so big that everyone can win from it? Or also the other thing is the incumbents have in some ways a unique advantage over the startups in previous generations, right? If you built for web and now you can come in and just build for mobile, and it's like it's a whole new platform. It's totally different. AI, it's like in some ways it's like, can I not just, and you're seeing the valuations of these companies because in some ways people think that you can just add AI to this existing infrastructure and business model. So do you see it as, there's 2 questions in there, but OpenAI, winner take all, yes or no? And then what about the incumbents? Are they just uniquely advantaged with AI?
Yeah, so I think we came up with a framework called Cognition as a Service. I don't know if people have seen it or not. It's good. Marketing team should feel good. People are nodding. They're reading our stuff. That's awesome. That's called ROI, man. I'm just kidding. That we track. I lost my chain of thought. Yeah. So I think like what we have done is, and the rest of the industry is doing it too, we have taken, having been in the industry for a long time, we have said, how do we look at the AI opportunities in a stack? And we have put the stack at 6 layers. The first one is semiconductors. Layer above is models, which run on these chips, which is like operating systems. The layer above that is, you do this, you need data. Layer above that is, you assemble these things, you need tools, developer tools, orchestration. The layer above that is, all this exists, now I can build intelligent applications. And then there is a new layer on top of it, what we call AI teammates, that we introduced 3-4 months back, and stay tuned. He's taking notes. I think he's doing a vlog. He might preempt us.
I'm
right?
very close to figuring out what the announcement is, and I'm going to announce it. So that's, I'm just, I just have one or two more
I'm doing that on
pieces to put
purpose.
together.
You know why? The main reason, Derek, is you're doing 1,500 events a month. I haven't done 1,500 in my life. So what could be better amplification of collaboration? So I think, so here is the situation, right? The semiconductor layer fighting the GPU battle is the wrong battle. That's taken, right? When you went with PCs, it was called the x86 architecture. It was Intel, 99% market share, 1% AMD. It's reversed. Hope nobody's here from Intel, right? Because then more. No, you're not, man. You're at our startup. You were. I'm just joking. So if you look at it, now what you have to do is you have to innovate at the edge. When Intel and AMD happened, there were 100 other areas around the microprocessor that got created. We have a company here which does cooling. It's a big problem, man. These are heat sinks, these GPUs. Another one of ours does optical connectivity because the bandwidth is the issue. So you have to look at the edge, even as a VC, and say, VCs and entrepreneurs, right, have to look for the next wave. When NVIDIA is $3 trillion, public market investors are chasing it. You guys, man, why are you chasing that? Find the next wave. Go hunt somewhere else. Gold is discovered there, oil is discovered there. Shell exists. There's no space for you. Pack your bags, go somewhere else. So at the GPU layer, taken. Let's talk about models. Models is a capital game. Let's go back to the PC era because we're all students, right? We learn. In the PC era, there was a lot of operating systems companies in Unix. Windows made it, and the only second one on is Linux. All forms of Unix, there were 100, 1,000, 10,000, all went away. Let's go to mobile. Many operating systems, closed source, iOS, open source Android, even Windows couldn't build a phone, OS. Same thing is going to happen here. Maybe 1 or 2 closed source models, which will acquire small companies and own it, and 1 or 2 open source models. That's a capital game. It's a data game, right? Same thing with clouds. Don't go start another hosting company, say Lambda Labs is doing well, so I'm going to do Beta Labs. Man, there's no such opportunity. Go somewhere. So you guys have to go find, right? Like basically something that hasn't happened, right? Like if you will. Go do something which is new, which is fresh, and think about it hard. Why chase somebody? Have others chase you. That's more fun.
Yeah, but it's also, I mean, it is, but you have to kind of just go out in the wilderness for a while and have no one around, right? As you said, like you want to invest in people that aren't going after any markets, because if the market's already there, then there's already a lot of people thinking about that. So like it's really hard to go out and just kind of be in the wilderness for, could be many years with very few people believing, and then a market. Then like, you know, you're walking all of a sudden like, oh geez, there's actually a wave coming, and hopefully you're ready for it, right? But
welcome to entrepreneurship.
yeah,
That's why you're an entrepreneur. That's why you're a founder. You're not a follower, man. Like you have to, entrepreneurs, VCs love entrepreneurs who create markets, who catch the next wave, right? Like and when especially Wall Street comes to Sand Hill Road, it's time to pack up bags, man. If they have discovered that this is what am I doing? I have
Yeah.
to find the next wave. Right? Wall Street, when they come to Main Street, it's time to pack up bags from that street and open
Yeah.
a new Main Street.
I've heard people talk about funding things that are going to save jobs and increase margin and things, and I think you kind of have a different perspective on that, right? Like, don't you, the sort of the AI things that you're interested in, isn't it more along the lines of like, actually what can enhance jobs versus?
Yep. So I think our belief is every time IT industry has come, computers came, people are going to lose jobs. Manufacturing facilities got set up, people lose jobs. Markets go to India and China, US companies will die. But when US keeps growing, the tech companies keep growing, what happens? If those other geographies and because of the movement which is happening, the wealth keeps going up.
Yeah.
So these people now start consuming things from the companies which are benefiting from this stuff. So it's a circular thing. So I'm not worried, right? Yes, there will be some pain initially, but people who endorse this and companies which endorse this will come as winners. This one I can give you, right? Like I won't say stay tuned. So I have to think, what can I give? So let's look at AI, right? Like AI should go, yes, you can go attack and say, I will take over these jobs. Why? Pick DevOps, technical term, pick SRE ops, right? 100,000 jobs are open on LinkedIn. Or say, go after people who wear pagers at night. Nobody wants to do that job. So go after open jobs using this technology to augment humans. Go after jobs humans don't want to do. Right? Who wants to be on the tech support call getting abused for not getting return of tickets happen on Expedia, right? Like jobs that humans don't want to do or just can't do, there's a fire. You go climb up and take pictures. And why? I can send a robot to go do that.
Yeah.
Right? And then
Cool.
this wave is going to be a great equalizer for around 33 million small businesses whom nobody wants to go work for. And they could never afford knowledge workers. So this wave, right, like can be the great equalizer where AI as a teammate can go do things which are unfilled, unmet, or even to a human, they can come and free up my time. That's what all these co-pilots, autopilots are doing, so that I can do things as a human what I love doing. So there's both personal benefits and professional benefits. How many people write code or like have written code in the past? Great. Even I used to, right? And who wants to QA their own code? Does anybody
Write tests.
or like write in the code what you did? What a great tool, man, called GitHub Copilot, please. Or if not that, Codium, somebody will figure it out. Just remember in life, horse, jockey, humans are the jockey. This is just another form of horse. Just learn how to ride it and you'll be fine. Right? So try to not fight it. Try to see at the end how you can adopt this thing, endorse it, and get better. Right? People are worried. Some company, I won't use the name, it was hyped. It's not ours. It was doing marketing blogs, right? It's not doing well because OpenAI does it. Marketing people can get worried. Oh, my job will get taken away. Somebody like me says, great. We used to write one blog a week. Now we'll write one every 2 days. Then technology gets better. We'll write it every day. Right? So it just keeps going. I'm still trying to figure out, man, how to do 1,500 events a month in 1,500 cities. Shelby, where are you?
We need to get AI. No, I'm trying to figure
I'm just
out.
still trying to figure
how to
out.
get
So
the AI to
the
do it.
challenge will be if we can do 1,500 blogs, right? I'm just thinking, maybe AI, man, like we need to collaborate.
Let's do it.
Let's
I'm,
learn.
I'm all in. All right. Just as we wrap up, this is another thing that it's kind of unique for you actually. You there's just a lot of joy in you, honestly, and it kind of radiates from you and I had the first time we met was about 6 months ago, and I had a very short interaction, and I immediately felt it. And then in the other interactions I've had with you, you can feel it. And something that I've heard you say is just about enjoying the journey. And I'd say when you're in the middle of hell, it's very hard to like, man, this is like, I'm getting killed. This is cool, as a startup. And I wonder just like how you think about sort of how you think about that, how you think about enjoying that journey, how you think about making the most of it, and seeing the positive side of things, because you seem like a very positive person.
You have to be, otherwise I won't be a VC. If I keep saying this won't work, that won't work, man, you will be interviewing somebody else then. So I think, here is the thing, right? Like, whatever the right word is, I believe in God. I follow a certain kind of religion, right? Like in the Indian mythology, the God I worship said, hey, do your karma. Don't worry about the results. So if you became a founder, I became a VC, the doctor didn't tell you and me to become an entrepreneur or a VC. We signed up for itself. If it's so hard, give up. Go do the cushiony job, right? So that option is always available. If you can't do it, raise your hand. And my ankle is not working, I need to sit. You can send the bench player to play. Even that's possible. So these are all, right? Like I call these problems the first world problems, right? Entrepreneurism. How many people can become founders? Not that many. How many people can raise money from Silicon Valley VCs? So it's all self-inflicted problems, right? Because you have food, shelter, like everything. So if it's that hard, don't do it.
But if you're
doing it, just do
complain.
it. Have fun.
Have fun.
Have fun. Right? And have the belief that it's doable. If you keep thinking it won't happen, it won't happen, it won't happen, it actually won't happen. Right? Like why focus on why is it hard, right? Man, just make it fun. Of course, it is going to be hard. Otherwise, everybody would be doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right? Fundraising is hard, I agree. Finding the first customer is hard. Letting go of people is hard. But hey, the doctor didn't say. There are many paths to go enjoy life. You chose this path. So follow it.
And it's an amazing path.
It's amazing.
Of all the paths you could choose.
I think being a founder in life, right? If you're here, this is a land of immigrants, right? Basically, everybody in this country came from somewhere else. The only country which gives you opportunity, especially the region we are in, right? Growing up where I grew, once you fail, man, you're done in that era, right? Like, I don't know if people know what I'm talking about, right? Like here, like I have come to the conclusion, how do you become the best at something, right? So how many people like have followed like what Michael Jordan used to say, right? Like, right? And it's the same, right? Like basically, what did he say? I've lost the most number of shots. I've lost the most games in the final moments. And that makes me hungry to go. Similarly, what I have figured out is, how does one learn? One learns from reading books. Great. You learn from practice. You know where you learn the most? Is from your failures. Because that's how you get better. Life, entrepreneurism, venture capital is the most humbling business. Because you're giving money to others, sitting on stage and like giving speeches when you haven't done anything yourself. And then your money is not coming out, right? So it's a very humbling business. Because at the end, you're an investor who's supposed to take small boxes of money, real money, and create bigger boxes of money, which also real, and you keep showing paper gains. And how's that fair? So you can play that game once, twice. After the third time, you get shut down. Right? So it's a very humbling business, but I'm glad we are in it and do it the right way.
Let's give it up for Navin Chaddha from Mayfield. Thank you so much.
And it's a delight. Thank you very much. It's great. Thank you for doing this.
so much.
Yeah.